welcome to Pass the Mic, episode 33 for Friday, July 15th. We are recording here on the 14th. We're really pushing it this week. Mike Pihoti here, joining me via Zoom, Mike Gervasi.
You mad because my style you're admiring? Don't be mad, UPS is hiring. Woo! That's
All right.
Biggie Smalls and Craig Mack's Flavor in Your Ear remix.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
Happy birthday, belated. This is a
Thank you.
birthday week. We wished you happy birthday on the page yesterday.
That was nice. It was really nice walking into the old gang there saying happy birthday as well.
Yeah, a lot of current Marauders and Marauder alumni met at a local establishment. Well, Joe's Prime Time. We'll give Joe a shout out. He's always good to us.
Hey,
so
I got to tell you something. I'm 44.
Okay.
And I got to tell you something that happened with that number that sticks in my mind. Have you ever played bingo at like a festival or anything?
It's been years, but I recall the game. I'm familiar with the concept.
You have some very serious people that play bingo.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I was I don't even know I don't play, but I was down to my last number, which was 44. And
is that an N? Is that the N column? If I know my bingo, I think so.
Let's go with it.
All right.
I'm sure we'll get some feedback. We won't even look it up. We'll get feedback from the bingo elite out there. So the person called out the number, and the number was 40, but she said 40, but she said 44.
Oh, you did a fake bingo call.
Oh man, I did bingo. And Mike, these people looked at me like I had stolen something from them. I'll never forget it. It was almost 20 years ago, and I still remember the feel. I was like,
daggers.
It was totally an accident. They were not
looks
happy.
to kill.
Yeah,
oh, man.
So that's my 44 story.
We have some feedback from last week. I want to give a shout out. Elizabeth Pace reassured us that we didn't violate HIPAA laws when you were discussing her son's surgery, but she also said that the episode really helped her on her drive back, which was a rough week.
Yeah. And with her in mind, we certainly give the Pates a lot of shouts out. We have a lot of loyal listeners, and
we do.
Certainly grateful.
We do.
So
and
Twan, Deontay, I hear you guys, man.
Oh yeah, and I met Twan, right? Or
yes.
Deontay?
No, you met Twan.
I met Twan. That's right.
Actually, Deontay told me that my lighting is too dark, so I tried to lighten it up here.
Look at that!
Like I'm setting the mood.
You need one of those ring lights now that we're doing these video episodes.
And he also reminded me, Malcolm X, actually, I mentioned he lived in Detroit and Lansing. He also spent some time a little bit closer to downriver in Inkster. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. I'd forgotten about that, but he did.
We did also, one of the people we saw last night, Brenda Greer, she gave us a big shout out on her own personal Facebook page. She drove down to Nashville or to the Tennessee area to visit her son, Brandon, and listened the whole way there, the backlog of episodes she had. And she said it made the trip fly by, which was a nice little shout out. And then Crystal Fowler, doing one of her runs through the Metro Park, did a little Instagram story. And one of the first, she said, here's what I do on my runs. And the first thing was Pass the Mic podcast was up on her listening. So
I guess we're like Rocky music. We get people all pumped up.
I guess pumped up for those long runs. So here you go, Ms. Fowler. You have another
also an old name, Mike Candela.
Oh, yes.
He commented. Great to hear from him.
Down in the ATL.
He's been gone for 15 years.
Wow. Yeah. So we like our listeners all over. So that's really cool. It's time for my mic of the week. And lately we've been, trying to make amends with Major League Baseball. So the all-star rosters were announced, and I decided I'd go with a mic for my mic of the week, a Major League Baseball mic, born in 1991, 3-time MVP. Could have been 4-time if it wasn't for the year that Miggy, or was it Verlander? Who won that MVP?
I'm guessing Miggy.
Yeah, it was right. It was because he won the Triple Crown, so it was like it was a no-brainer. But Mike Trout. Of the Anaheim Angels. Are they Anaheim or are they Los Angeles Angels? What are they?
I think they're Los Angeles now.
Los Angeles now. It keeps
or something.
Yeah. I'm assuming he's an all-star again this year. Maybe I
don't know. He's been hurt. He seems like he's hurt a lot too, but I could be wrong.
Oh yeah. Well, he's had a very great career. It was sort of like at the end of Miggy's prime years is when Trout was sort of like really catching on, and it was always those two. Going on. But again, I think Miguel Cabrera is actually having a pretty darn good year this year if you take into account for his age, I think you can't say that it's not like Victor Martinez's last years or.
Oh, well, there's a certain similarity, I guess, running the base paths, but outside of that.
Well, he did steal third the other day.
I'd like to see that. Maybe because I did read about it, but I didn't see it myself. So yeah, he did.
So for topics this week, I was thinking, again, summer's a little more lighthearted anyway. And the Ren Dog did some, speaking of loyal listeners, did some of his movie reviews. He did 3 movie reviews in the last week on Twitter, fired them out there and gave you his thoughts on some good movies. So if you want to go see those, you can. And I thought, why don't we talk about our favorite fictitious educators, whether it be in movies or TV? All right. So I have 2. How many do you have?
I have 2. Do you want to go 1 and 1, kind of bounce?
Yeah, let's go 1 and 1. So I'll let you start off first. Who is one of your favorite fictitious educators out there?
All right, I'm going to start with the more obvious one. Dead Poet Society, Robin Williams, Mr. Keating. Just a phenomenal movie. And, as a younger person, I think the movie came out in 88, so I'd have been lower elementary school at that time. But in high school, it was one of those movies that inspired me to want to teach. And, at that time, he was really, it was outside of the box type of teaching. So I'm going Keating. The end of that movie, "Oh, Captain, My Captain," just an amazing scene to close the movie. So that's my first one.
Yeah, great choice. We were talking about this before we started recording, and my daughter heard my 2 choices and came out and yelled at me for not selecting Mr. Keating. But of course, you have that covered, so that's good.
Yeah.
My first one from a 1985 John Hughes film. I'm wearing the shirt. Maybe if you're, for those watching on YouTube, Richard Vernon's. It's Dick Vernon Richard, the assistant principal, played by Paul Gleason in The Breakfast Club. You mess with the bulls, you mess with the horns, you get the bull, or mess with the bull, you get the horns. Great character. Deceased. He has passed away at a young age. When I looked up some of the stuff on him, he died from lung cancer in his 60s, and they said it was from asbestos because when he was a kid, he worked for his dad's construction company, ripping out.
Really?
Yes. So that was just a weird quirk in his life, but man, his character in that movie, and just the guy you love to hate. But whenever you think of like an assistant principal in those 80s movies, it seemed to always be based off of somebody like that same mindset.
Yes.
And I think he was awesome. He was also very good, basically the same character in Die Hard, except as a cop, right? Like, remember, he was the guy that he basically was.
I forgot he was in that.
Yes, he was. He basically played the same role, and like that didn't listen to anybody, went by his own rules, wasn't total a-hole, and like I think the scene is when they start shooting out the lights, and like the famous guy from Family Matters that is the nice cop that everyone likes. It's like they're shooting out the lights, and then he like looks up, he goes, "They're shooting out the lights." Yeah, well, he was, that's who he was. So that's my case. Totally opposite of your educator, not like carrying just a total. But the character was just awesome. So that's my first one. Who's your second?
So there was a Wonder Years episode. I actually just looked up her name, and I believe it was season 5. On the show, she was Miss Shaw.
Okay.
It looks like her name is Lainey, I believe, Chapman.
All right.
She was a teacher for Wonder Years, the original Wonder Years. Set, the show was from like 89 to 94, something like that. But the show was set in the late 1960s, early 70s. So she was kind of perfect for the time. And she butted heads with the school board because she, like Keating, did a lot of unconventional things. So the grading system she came up with was not the traditional method that, even today, here we are in 2022, you get the same sort of pushback. So she had the kids choose their own grades. So the school board came back down on her and she quit. Kevin loved the class. It was a thinking class, and it made him think, it challenged him. And it was really interesting. At the end of the episode, it was really cool how it ended. The entire group of kids just were enamored with this teacher because she was different, unconventional, taught them to think, blah, blah, blah. Kevin felt sort of betrayed that she didn't stick it out because she quit. And so he kind of had this issue where he was depressed and disappointed that he was losing his teacher, but also disappointed in her for not standing up and sticking it out longer. But it was just a teacher that totally changed his life. It's a truly unforgettable episode. The Wonder Years episodes were really top notch in so many ways, because even though we obviously are younger and didn't grow up in that time period, you know, it's similar growing up as a male, similar type of circumstances, and I'm sure we all had that type of teacher. Maybe not necessarily this dramatic, but that's my Mrs. Shaw. She was great, so that's my second one.
Yeah, that was a great show, and it must have really. I watched the show back when it was. Is it streaming anywhere now? By the way, does anyone even know?
You know,
I know they did like a remake or a reboot of it.
Yeah,
right?
and it's done from an African American perspective. It's done pretty well, and I just read Kevin Arnold, Fred Savage was actually removed as executive producer because
There's
he wasn't
some
treating
issues.
the folks too well. Yes, but they do. It's pretty good. I couldn't. I almost wish it was called something else, because the Wonder Years is just such a. It stuck with me, but the new one is good too. I don't. Maybe it's because I'm older now. Maybe I just didn't stick with it as long. But I didn't really have anything negative to say about it. It was really good, and yeah, phenomenal show. And I don't think it's streaming, to answer your question. We do use it in the history department. Mr. Menser does have some DVDs. I believe Mr. Harris has ordered the box set, or already has the box set of all the episodes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they
just have to worry. Really just have to worry that you have a device that you can play it on pretty soon.
True.
Because I don't even know what physical media. I don't know how long that's gonna be around. Man, I sort of feel bad because like both years were like inspirational teachers, and I don't know if it's I don't just know if it's just my personality, but I'm going back to another John Hughes film, 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and probably even more outlandish than Richard Vernon was Ed Rooney, played by Jeffrey Jones, that literally leaving the school to stalk and find kids that are skipping school. But the running joke was whenever I would be the acting assistant principal and Brooke Spano was playing there, we'd play the role of Ed Rooney and Grace, his secretary, and we still refer to each other as those names. I can watch that movie anytime, and his character is just so outrageous. And and again, you can see how Hughes directing the film basically morphed the two characters almost. The two he had his vision of what an assistant principal was like, and he's still alive. Jeffrey Jones is still alive, but Ed Rooney is probably his most famous character. I think if you ask anyone from our generation, growing up, I mean, that was what our vision of a principal was.
Man, Mike, it's really disappointing. And I just confirmed it too. He had some offenses
legal
later
issues
on. Yes. But as you said that, I was wondering, would Brooke Spano do the impression of that secretary?
The quote where he's a righteous dude. Yeah, one of my favorite lines is when they're calling in to get the girl Sloan out of school, saying the grandparent passed away, and he thinks he has Ferris Bueller on the phone, and he drops the line. He goes, "Well, you roll her body on up here, and we'll dig up your daughter." And then they have Ferris Bueller actually calling on the other line, and Grace is like, "Ferris is on too," and he thinks that he's just insulted the family. Great. And then that scene at the end where he's like, the sisters, Jennifer Grey from she was Dirty Dancing, the sister, where he's like stepping in dog crap and the dogs attack, and then he has to get back on that school bus. His suit's destroyed. He's beaten up. Like, could you ever imagine, like, as an assistant principal, you'd like literally get on the school bus to ride home, right back to the building? But a great two. Again, you picked two very good teachers that went out and did the role of educators. I picked two assistant principals that were great in their roles and made you scared as a high school kid if you ever thought like your principal would be like that. I guess so.
I guess this is the cool part of us not preparing.
Because my honorable mention was Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, who's sort of in the same light as those two
Yes.
guys. So,
Yes.
so that's even an older film, so you could check those out. All right. Speaking, so then we decided to go overrated, underrated. Why not go into actors? And we are going to keep this as males actors, so that way down the road we can do actresses, because eventually we're going to start running out of overrated, underrated topics. So for me, overrated was really easy. It's underrated that's hard, because in my opinion, if you make it into films, it's hard to say you're underrated. Like, we're not talking about.
Yeah.
That was just my opinion. I mean, so whoever we throw out there for underrated, I think it's going to be sort of a tough break. But I did sort of Google underrated actors just to see what they would throw out as a list, and mine did appear on there. But who knows? So with that, who is your overrated actor?
Guys, you said it was easy. I'm dying to
Oh,
know.
really? You thought? Yeah, I thought mine was. I think it's easy. So, but go ahead.
I had a hard time with this one. I had a much easier time with actually the underrated. I don't Ashton Kutcher. I mean, he's probably been in one movie that I liked, but I hate to say it because I feel like we're bashing on people here, and he's probably a great guy.
I don't think he's going to reach out and.
No, I know, but I don't think he's a very good actor, so I'm going with him.
Has he been in anything? Is he even in anything lately?
I don't think so. The one movie he was in that I liked, it was called Guess Who. It was a remake of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But I think I liked it in spite of him. There was a few others. Richard Gere was another one that came to mind, but I'm going Ashton Kutcher.
All right. Well, mine, and the people that have been listening probably aren't going to be surprised when I say this one, because I've sort of bashed this person recently in episodes, but I think Tom Cruise is overrated. And again, somebody just came out recently and basically said he's played the same role for 35 years. It's the same character, and this isn't my Top Gun hate. Again, I haven't seen the original,
right.
but I've seen other movies. I've seen, like, probably one of his most. I've seen A Few Good Men, which gets a lot of publicity as being a great film. And then what was the one where they could predict the crimes? I can't now.
It's not Vanilla Sky, is it?
You know what I'm saying? They're laying, like, those people are laying in the beds and they can see the I know the Ren Dog is going to blast us for not knowing this, but I guess that movie is alright. But I just think that, like, immediately everyone says, like, everything's a hit. Mission Impossible, like, you got to see this. The last movie star or whatever. Sometimes people say, I'm not buying it. And again, I'm not just bitter because he stole Katie Holmes. Overrated, Tom Cruise. So who's your underrated?
My underrated is John Turturro. He's been in a number of films, and he never really has a top role, but he's always good at what he does. The most recent thing I saw him in was an HBO miniseries, 8-part, called The Night Of, which was like 2016 thriller, and he was absolutely amazing in that. That would not have worked without him. He's done a myriad of different roles, and he's been lovable, he's been hateable. He was in Do the Right Thing. He was a horrible character in that. I'm going John Turturro. I think he's a very, very good actor, very underrated.
All right, my underrated, and again, this person did appear on a list when I typed it up, and I don't know if you can really be underrated if you won a Best Supporting Actor award, but people think this person is. I'm going to go with J.K. Simmons, who born locally in Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, 1955. Went to the University of Montana, of all places. We were talking about the other day, if Montana has a football team, they have a university. So got his start early in his career, really, on, like, Law and Order. He played the psychiatrist that would, evaluate criminals. And then he was also in HBO's Oz, the prison show. He won his Best Supporting Actor 2016 for La La Land. But I always thought he was great, like, way back in those Law and Orders. Also, he was in the Spider-Man series with Tobey Maguire. He was the editor of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah,
I think that's the paper. And I always just thought he was always really good in everything, even those little individual Law and Order episodes. And then he is now, like, in the Farmers commercials still, after winning a Best Supporting Actor. He's, like, still, like, that's, like, his most current, like, things that he does.
Right.
And I really, for as far as a commercial goes, I think it's pretty good. And so when he was my plan and idea before I typed in that list. I'm like, okay, who are some underrated actors? So I typed that, and then his name appeared in the list. So I guess maybe even if you do win a Best Supporting Actor, maybe it's just because you don't get big headlining roles, you're still considered underrated. Because I think he's really good. I think he's good in everything that I've seen him do. And I'm sure people have opinions on all 4 of these names.
Yeah, I was just thinking. So one of my favorite movies is Training Day. Would Ethan Hawke be, because he was like Denzel gets rightfully so, he was amazing in that movie, but Ethan Hawke was really good in that. Would
Yeah,
he be considered underrated? Because he's been in a lot of things I've liked him in. He was in
probably,
Deadpool.
and he was also really big at a certain time. You know, it's funny
Yes,
how
he
like
was
people
right.
go through, you know, some people last and go on and on for
Yeah,
years. Other people
I
have,
was thinking about that too. You're talking about guys who were big. Ed Norton was really big for a little while, and then he's
yeah,
kind of gotten supporting roles lately. So yeah,
it's a
it's
tough
tough.
business, I guess,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
for females. And we'll do an episode on
yes,
overrated, underrated female. I mean, it's even harder for them that you don't see some that last and last like
right.
the males do. So, but we'd love to hear other people's input and who they like. But both are educators and just in general overrated, underrated actors. So, what do you got for a hot mic to take us out this week? NHL free agency or what?
I know the Wings did pretty good, but again, these guys I don't know, so I can't.
I don't know.
I
I don't
can't
know any
comment.
of them. I know
Yeah.
for there were some people around here had visions for a day that they might go after Malkin because the Penguins weren't gonna, and then the Penguins ended up last minute re-swooping them back in. So
Oh, bummer. I'm sure you're
yeah,
disappointed.
I'm
I didn't
not.
know that.
Yes,
I do know
yeah,
Malkin.
a little bonus hockey talk.
Yeah, right. So my hot mic, again, kind of a serious theme this week. A study came out from the University of Connecticut. They did this report, and I was kind of thinking about this as we were reflecting on our trip to Europe. Um, Billions of pictures are taken on phones every day, which is logical, right? And what they studied and they found out is if you take a picture, it's kind of your brain's way of saying, I don't have to remember this anymore. And so you tend to lose the ability to capture the moment, which kind of makes logical sense because how often do you go back and look through your pictures? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe you do occasionally, but not very often. So yeah, and basically what I got from this article, from this study, and it's a lot more detailed than I'm giving, obviously, was maybe it's time to put the phones away for stuff like that if you really want to capture the moment. Because if you don't, again, according to this article, if you don't take the picture, your mind then registers it. And, with this study, these subjects they studied, the people who didn't take pictures remembered a lot more of the details than those that did. And so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Maybe it's time we put our phones away a little bit more. I know I've said this before, when time to, unplug, so forth and so on. Maybe it's time when we want to capture a moment, maybe taking the picture's the wrong thing.
yeah. I haven't been to a concert in years, but I'll be going to one. But I see, and again, I don't have a problem taking a few pictures of like you and your friends that are there, and but like people that like record like whole sets, or I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't get it. I think I told the story before in an earlier episode of the chance when we got to meet President Obama. I actually froze and didn't take any pictures. And looking
Yeah.
back in hindsight, I'm actually really glad because I can, like you said, I still remember many aspects of that just from memory. And then thankfully, the Detroit News was taking pictures, and there's a
Yeah.
YouTube video. And I sort of just lucked out because like the first thing people asked me is like, "Did you get any pictures?" And I'm like, and sort of like a punch in the gut, I didn't, but then it worked out well. I think it's like a medium. You obviously want to take pictures of stuff, but you also want to enjoy the moment, per
Right.
se. I'll never understand why people record fireworks shows. I know that's like an old bit. I don't, I don't understand that, but I
You
guess,
got to
to
enjoy
each
the,
their own.
the whole thing. You got to take it all in at the fireworks shows.
Exactly. My hot mic, it's now time, Mike. And I know some people shared some pictures. There were people that shared pictures like right when we got off, it seemed like in that week in June. But I was at Meijer the other day. The back to school stuff is officially out everywhere. Like Meijer had all their, it was the main focus of that aisle, I guess I'd say. It's always there. They always have that section, but now that aisle that used to have like floats and bug spray and suntan lotion
Now it's
and outdoor furniture. Well, I'm letting everyone know that the back to school stuff is out, and we're actually very fortunate here, I guess, in this state. We've talked about this, that we have the Labor Day rule and the Labor Day law for the most part. My friend Schoolhouse teaches, and Mr. Schooley teaches in Indiana. I have friends that go to Indiana. They start really early. I'm pretty sure. I know, like you mentioned Candela. I'm pretty sure that Georgia is pretty early too. I've been in Florida before, where all of a sudden we're still at we still have half a month left, and they're starting school. So I know other places are like probably around a month away, probably, if it's July 14th
right.
when we're recording this. So it's that time. Are you like a big back to school shopper? Do you do anything for yourself or the kids?
We kind of split it up a little bit with the shopping, but yeah, I mean, we don't. I think we're pretty good about not waiting till last minute to get everything done at once. And that makes it a lot easier. But I know if you go for those last few things and there's people fighting and elbows are being thrown.
Oh my goodness.
If you wait too long, it could be nasty.
Yeah, and obviously the online stuff helps. The Prime Days just happened, and I know Target. I'm sure they'll do the thing where the 20%, whatever it was, right? Like teachers can register and get an extra % off. So and as our kids get older, it's really not a supply list anymore. Heck, now that they're on these Chromebooks, it's just really
right.
a few things that they need. So new backpacks though, like my son's backpack zipper busted out, so that's something I got to probably look into getting, and then not to mention clothes and sporting equipment and that sort of thing. So back to school time. So that's I guess.
Well, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I actually don't mind it. I enjoy doing it, and buying my new planner for the year. But I'm sort of a dork too. So,
well, I'm gonna use that as my sort of parting shot, I guess. One good thing about, and I love my job, so I'm not complaining. But the fall starts. The fall is a very busy time. My kids are in multiple sports, and but it's in one sense, the Tigers sort of teased us for a minute, that 6-game winning streak, and you're thinking maybe they'll make it interesting until early August or something like that, and then it just went away. So I guess the good news is when all this starts, we get some new sports starting, and we can cheer on the Lions and have them let us down.
Lions, college football. College football's back. I can't argue anymore. I sent that tuition bill, so I'll be cheering for. I might actually, depending on the time of that Michigan State game, because it's regional cross country meet day, I may be going to the actual game.
Really?
So yes, I don't know what I'm going to wear. This may be a whole big deal. So we'll have to see what's going on.
There's a new rally,
and I've never been there. I've never been to the big house ever.
You can buy a House Divided shirt, although you're really
not really House Divided. I have no allegiance to Michigan State, but
except your hatred of Michigan when you were younger.
Yes, 1 year ago. Maybe it'll be a House Divided, and it'll be like thirds: Eastern, or Michigan State and U of M. So, all right. Well, hey, we'd love to hear feedback. We want to thank all of our listeners. Again, this is available. We are recording these on Zoom, so if you really want to see the video and see if Mr. Gervasi's Mike's lighting improved, you can go to. It's under my YouTube station, so you can check that out. We put the link up on the Facebook page, and you can also, when we upload these to Spotify, Wally pointed this out. Spotify lets you watch the videos too from a computer, because when you upload the recording, it's right there. So you can also, if you're a Spotify person, check it out there. But anywhere you get your podcasts,
that's why we keep him employed. He's on top of the game.
Yes, he's our technical director. So everybody have a great week, and we will see you next week.